one-stop shop for great wrestling. It's the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Ray Russell brings a host of great shows right to your device. There's the Wrestling Memory Grenade, Regional Wrestling, the Wrestling Stoop with Bob Roop, the Amazing Puro Academy Show, Retro Wrestling Review with Gene Jackson, Dave Dynasty's long-running hit, Wrestling Nostalgia, Monday Warfare, Raw vs. Nitro, the hilarious Other Ship podcast, and a whole lot more. Great shows and great guests, but where do you find all this stuff? Really simple. Try logging on to WrestleCopia.com. As I like to say, it's your one-stop shop for great wrestling memories. Oh, come on, Bob. It can't be that bad. I mean, I watched it too. There were some good parts, right? Wasn't the main event of night 2 good enough for you? I think you're too hard to please. We need Steve Gennarelli to walk you off the ledge on the Outdated Wrestling Hour. Weren't the snacks good anyway? We have another big guest here. He's the latest, I guess, of the Usos Reigns lineage. It's Joseph Fatu. What? Oh, it's just Joe Puccio. Jeez.
You didn't know that I was part of the Samoan bloodline?
Well, you looked the part.
Well,
you silly guy, you.
There you
How
go.
you doing? Welcome back, Joe.
Hey, thank you so much.
It's Joe Puccio from GenerationXWire.com, also the former wrestling newsletter writer, and I am Bob Smith. I used to write for PWI and recently wrote for Inside the Ropes. I'm very proud of that. And welcome back to the Outdated Wrestling Hour podcast. Well, it's the week after the weekend of WrestleMania. I'm not going to review WrestleMania here because our guest is Steve Gennarelli, and he's going to walk me off the ledge because I despised everything that's been going on in wrestling so badly right now in modern wrestling that I needed someone to vent with and someone of my approximate age group to, give me a crying towel or whatever like that, because I'm very offended by a lot of what's going on. But we'll wait to talk about that. And let's get back to the nuts and bolts. As you remember, the last time you were in Gotham City, Joe and I made our picks of who was going to win these matches for WrestleMania. So let's go down the cards and see how we did, how we fared. This is probably the first and last time we ever do something like this. So, it's timely enough. Let's just do it. Joe, are you ready? Are your loins girded? Are you ready for more controversial WrestleMania comments?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Night 1. By the way, have you ever seen such elaborate staging in all your life?
It's nuts. It really is.
It is. It's too much.
Yeah. You can't even believe you're watching wrestling when you see some of these entrances and these music and the guys coming out with playing the violin to come out. It's so strange. It's so nuts what it's become.
It's surreal. It really is. All right. Anyway, we'll go right to the main event of night 1. Mr. Cody Rhodes beat Orton after a lot of nonsense, particularly from Pat McAfee. All right. My prediction is I didn't care who won. That's literally that was my prediction. But Joe, I believe you picked Orton.
If you say so, I believe I did.
Yeah, I went and listened to the show. I think overall your pick was Orton. So
okay.
Although you could have, because it's not over between the two of them, obviously, because you were thinking they would continue on and do some rematches or whatnot. So it looks like and by the way, that kick to or the punt kick as they called it to Rhodes' head, leaving an eye looking like that. These guys better watch their butts. I'm telling you, I know anything for the show, but that was pretty grisly.
That was crazy. Was it definitely that I saw his
Yeah.
eye obviously after, but it was definitely that spot
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
did
right
it?
at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's over the edge. It's too much. It's too much. The shots I saw from afterwards, it looked like he was in danger of losing his eye. It looked that bad. But I don't know. I only worked on a hospital, you know? But it looked pretty bad to me. I don't know. All right, so now we have Liv Morgan beat Stephanie Becker for the title after her Judgment Day pals got involved. I didn't care who won, as I said. Joe wanted Vaquer to win. Unfortunately, he didn't get his prediction on that one either. I will say that the musical opening from Liv Morgan was the finest walking down the aisle while singing her song that I have seen since the Fabulous Freebirds on Clash of the Champions singing, "Hey, I'm a Freebird, what is your excuse?" Nobody remembers this, but I do. And that was the Freebirds that were Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes, wearing tails and carrying canes and singing the song, and the PA didn't work. Fans just heard this music in the background, and nobody could hear them, or
Hmm,
all they heard was them, and they couldn't hear the music, one or the other. It was a botch, a typical TBS botch, right?
mhm.
And, it's legendary for falling flat on its face, and they never used the song again after that. But
Okay.
this was this what's the point? Why is she making records? Is this legitimately a record?
I don't know. I did see the item on the Observer website that she came out with a video for it, and I watched about 30 seconds of it before before I could turn it off. I don't know if this is an actually released song, like that you can actually go and purchase. I have no idea what's going on there, or it's just this one off for her
Why?
entrance theme. I don't know.
I don't see why they wouldn't release it because, the ring themes have been always available as MP3s from WWE, going back to when Jim Johnson was doing the
Right.
music.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could buy them on, iTunes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what harm would it do to release it? You got some lovelorn 300-pound guys that love Liv, they're gonna probably buy it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So wow, I lost on that one too. Wow, I'm 0 for 2. Okay.
Well, you do fine, you fine. Okay, let's go to a good match. Even though there was, an attack by Braun Breaker during it, Gunther beat Seth Rollins, but the match itself was real good.
It
With the
was.
exception of here's Rollins near the ring, and his ring robe was smoking. Did you catch that? His ring
His what?
robe smoked. As he
No.
walked down the aisle and went into the ring, his robe itself had smoke emanating from it.
Ah, gotcha. No, I think I missed that.
What only goes to show you that that hot stuff you put on your foot really works. What do they call that? Crazy bomb or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
It's no, but it was a real good match. It really was.
it was.
That's all you're gonna say about it? No, Gunther is if he's in a match, if it's a TV match, if it's a PLE match, he's the only thing right now that I really look forward to seeing, basically.
The scuttlebutt is basically that they're going to be pivoting to Gunther Roman Reigns at some point this year, and I can only imagine maybe SummerSlam, right? You would want a really big match for one of the next big pay-per-views or PLEs. I would really like to see that. I think that would be a pretty intriguing match, Reigns and Gunther.
We shall see. I don't know where they're going with Gunther. That's the funny part about Gunther. He's pushed, but I don't know what they're doing with him.
I think that I mean to me it's a great push in that he's beaten all these legends. He's beaten everyone that he comes in contact with. So I think the payoff's got to be a feud with Reigns, right? I mean, what
If he
else is
gets
there?
if Reigns right now gets past Fatu, and I think Fatu's got a shot. I really do. He's over. So who knows? Who knows what they're thinking? And that's good. That's good. If you can't really predict the next step, that's
Yeah,
good. Because with
yeah,
Reigns, it was why he's going to win. It was just going to interfere on his behalf, and he's going to win again. And it was that way for what, 2 years or whatever it was.
mhm.
So now at least there's some intrigue behind the title matches. All right, we have the Women's Intercontinental Championship where Becky Lynch pretty handily beat AJ Lee, and we both picked Lynch, so we're happy with that.
I think the reasoning we both sort of went with was because Lynch was losing a lot lately. She's kind of been made to look like the fool over the last few months, and I think it was just time for her to cut that short. Looks like they're doing something interesting with Lee now, where she's teasing going for a while. I don't know if that means like a semi-retirement again, or that just means she's going to take a hiatus. I have no idea, but it looked like on the television show after, or maybe it was actually on WrestleMania, the promo she did after, where it looked like she was going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus. So we'll see.
Maybe it's just one and done again.
It
And
could
she'll
be.
pop up every so often, one of those types. There's
Yeah.
been a few stars that do that. Or
Mhm.
Randy Orton.
Right.
He goes away for 6 months, comes back, and he's fresh. I'm not fresh if you put me in a freezer for a week. But anyway, there we go for that. More women's excitement. Brie Bella and Paige, which kind of renders our predictions void, really, because of the
Yeah.
injury thing there. But they won the women's tag team titles in the four-way match. I picked the Bellas. You picked Flair and Bliss, but it doesn't really matter because that changes the whole. If Paige is coming back, she was going to win. That was
Right.
it. That was it. And boy, did she get a pop, huh?
She got a pop, and that was actually that kind of was annoying because that was spoiled the day before.
Isn't that something? Why
that was
why
reported.
not let we were talking about this. Why not let this be a secret? They did it with CM Punk. Why didn't they do it with Paige? I mean,
Well,
CM Punk when he was in the Chicago Stadium, he surprised a lot of people. I didn't see that coming. But this thing was all over the internet for 3
right.
days before the thing, so no everybody knew she was there.
And apparently it got out that she was actually there were reports of her going through the match, like kind of running through the match the afternoon before. So I mean, it's like I was online scrolling through a few sites and I saw that and I was like, that would have been a kind of a cool surprise. I get even as the fan in me, I would have liked to have just kind of been really legitimately surprised. And of course, it's my own fault. I mean, I'm the one that was like, whatever. I was looking at the Observer site or whatever site it was. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, again, I don't know why that was even reported in the first place, but
Why? Why? Or how? How do the announcers have the gall to go, "What a surprise!" I
yeah,
mean, there
I
are
know.
people with signs in the audience going, "Welcome back, Paige." And by the way, in all seriousness, wrestling fans, if you're the kind of person that hears that Paige is coming back and makes this big homemade sign that says, "Welcome back, Paige," and brings it to the arena, I don't wanna know you. All right, our next match, our next match he's laughing, I'm glad. Our next match is, the unsanctioned match, which, by the way, looked like every other match on the card. It may have been unsanctioned, but there was no more violent than anything else anybody
Mhm.
else did, so Jacob Fatu beat Drew McIntyre. I had picked Fatu, you had picked McIntyre. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I
I
should
ju
just lose.
again, I see a trajectory with Fatu. McIntyre will be over no matter what it is, and he'll be a title contender whether he wins or loses any match. I just see that it's been a slow build for Fatu over the last 18 months.
And it makes sense now that we see that Fatu is obviously going for the belt with Reigns. So obviously that result totally makes sense. I had no idea he was going to be put into a program with Reigns right now, which is cool. I will admit, I would like to see Fatu and Reigns. It's
Yeah,
something
it's
that
pretty intriguing, yeah.
yeah,
It's
that's a
good.
cool match. I'm
I
sure
didn't
it's
see
going to
it
be a
and you
great
know
match.
what? I didn't see it coming. I
I
didn't
didn't
think they were
either.
gonna
No.
go that route, but
Yeah.
that's real cool. I like what Fatu said. "I want what you got. I want the cars. I need the money. I want a house." You know something? That's the most honest thing a professional wrestler's ever said on a promo.
It is.
Seriously, that's why
But
we all work. Your job, my job, Fatu's job, or we're all want the best that we can get, right?
Yeah, and I actually liked Reigns' response where he basically said, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Because it's like, this is a big, he's basically telling him this is a huge responsibility. This is going to take over your life. You're basically going to have to live and breathe this. So are you sure you're ready for this? And I will say though, I actually liked Fatu's line before that. I liked when Reigns said, "I can only assume you're here to acknowledge me," and he said, "Nah, I ain't here for that. Nah,
It
it
was
ain't
good.
that."
That was a good promo, and Reigns as the quasi face now is better than he's ever been. He's more
Yeah,
entertaining than he's ever been. The other
he
thing
is.
where he just kinda stare and go, "Acknowledge me," and then just say everything is spoken solemn. It was so I thought it was corny. I thought all that stuff was corny. I like the current Reigns. This is my favorite version of him. I think he's much more entertaining.
He is.
All right. Oh, I forgot this one last match, which was the opener, where LA Knight and the Usos beat I Show Speed, Austin Theory, and Logan Paul. We both picked the winner. It was pretty obvious.
Yeah,
It didn't happen the way I predicted that I Show was going to turn on Theory and Paul, but actually he did, but it was after the match.
Right,
Well,
right,
actually, during the match, sort of, kinda, he got involved and blah, blah, blah.
and that made
But
sense, that whole thing, because it was the ESPN portion, it was on the free TV, that match, and I guess they had the big spot, right, where, ISHO did the dive to the table
well,
on the
I'll tell you
outside.
what, he was standing both feet on the ring post. I was impressed with just that. Like, both feet were landed, like, centered, and he just propelled himself off and did a perfect
Yeah,
splash
yeah.
onto the table, which must not hurt at all
Yeah,
in
right.
real life because they do it so often that
Yeah.
it looks violent and horrible, but I'll bet it's, like, comfortable and a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I can say because they do it all the time, right?
We
All
should
right,
do it, yeah.
night number 2, we'll go to the main event first. Roman Reigns beat CM Punk for the WWE title in a real good match. And I
Uh,
had picked Punk, you picked Reigns, and you nailed this one.
that was a great match. For me, that was definitely the match of the weekend, of both
Yeah.
nights. It was over a half hour, they gave it time, it was dramatic, great moves, great, everything made sense. Yeah, I don't know, it really worked. I think it coulda went either way, just whatever story they're trying to tell right now, but, yeah, fantastic match, they worked really well together, and I was happy to see them sort of, in my opinion anyway. I know we're not doing a full WrestleMania review, but it kind of, like, saves the show in a way, because I
For the
felt the
weekend.
quality it saved the weekend. Yeah, the quality of matches
Yeah.
overall were pretty crappy, so I thought that
Mhm.
was a great way to end the night, end the weekend.
And we had Rhea Ripley beat Jade Cargill for the women's title. We both picked Ripley, and we're both happy with that, I'm sure.
Yep.
The Cargill needs to be retooled. And you know what, though? In all seriousness, that's the best I ever saw her work.
I was just gonna say that. It wasn't bad, actually.
No, it
She
really
actually
wasn't.
she did a pretty decent job. I will give her credit for that.
I think creative kinda I think turning her heel was a bad move. I think she was better off, like, teaming with Bianca Belair when they were doing that and them getting along. She was more attractive as a character as someone who just happened to be this unbelievable physical specimen and yet was a cool person. I think that worked better. Now she's got the I can't even name her posse. I know one is
Oh,
Mishin. I don't know the
Mish
other woman's name.
yeah,
I
yeah,
always forget the other woman's name, so it's just so faceless. Maybe she'll turn on them or something and then turn her face and blah, blah, blah. We'll
right.
see how that goes. I don't think she's going anywhere, Jade Cargill. I just think she's gonna get retooled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Trick Williams, seconded by generic rapper number 7, beat Sami Zayn for the US title. We both picked Trick. And by the way, whoop that Trick that the entire audience says, including children, they're all going, "Whoop that Trick, whoop that Trick." Y We all know what that means, right? I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah,
No, it's terrible. Why would he say that? "Here, come whoop me." What, huh? Who?
yeah. I don't know, it's so dumb, like, I don't know where these things it's so crazy how these things, they they just get over, like, some you never know which of these catchphrases or which of these themes are gonna really take, and that one really did. There's a few of them, especially the ones that started in NXT, but yeah, that one really
I
got
caught
over
on.
with the fan
Yep.
base.
Oh, and all right, quick quiz. Who was the name of the rapper that was with Trick Williams?
Short little,
It was Lil
Shorty?
Yachty. Lil Yachty.
Shorty? Oh,
Lil
Little
Yachty,
Yachty.
wasn't it? Yes.
I don't know, I thought it was Little Shorty, I don't know.
But I
Little
needed you
Yachty.
to jog my memory for me to remember it.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's people will be talking about Lil Yachty at WrestleMania, when they grow up, and they'll have their kids on their knees going, back in 2026, we had this great WrestleMania. You know who was there? Lil Yachty.
Little Yachty.
Mhm.
Michael Cole on Raw is always, like, joking around, like, him and Corey Graves, like, "Oh, I'm a Little Yachty fan, and I love him, and this and that," and it's like, it's got me wondering now if he's even kidding, like, I don't know if Cole really does like him, and he talks about it all the time. He's like, "I love this guy, and he's got this, and he's got that." I don't know. I have no idea. Is this guy actually a successful rapper? I have no idea.
And listen, he also waxed poetic about Bert Kreischer and that other comedian is it's about as funny as Sandpaper.
Can I just say one thing about that Tony Hinchcliffe?
Hinchcliffe, Tony
Hitchcliffe?
Hinchcliffe. Well,
Oh
it's
my god. I watched the Netflix, they did that comedy. He did a WWE comedy show on WrestleMania weekend, and they aired it on Netflix the
Right.
next day. Did you see? I'm guessing you didn't see any of
Of
this.
course not.
I put it on while I was sort of doing something for work, so I was sort of paying half attention. This was one of the worst things. I mean, I don't know if it was intentionally bad. I don't know if the whole shtick is that the comedians are supposed to be bad, and that's why you're finding it entertaining. But I'm telling you, this thing, I can't believe WWE even wants to be associated with this. And I'm not talking from a point of view of like, oh, it's just not my style. I mean, it just wasn't funny. It was so stupid. I don't know if anyone has any different opinions about this, but I don't know what they're doing. This guy is terrible.
Okay, we could talk a lot about Hinchcliffe, but let's move on. There's a lot. There's a lot of back pages with him, but in any event, Finn Balor as the Demon beat Dom Mysterio as the Beaver.
Dom Mysterio as the what?
The Beaver, like Leave It to Beaver.
Oh, the Beaver. I'm like, oh, I thought you said the Bieber. Okay.
No, the Beaver.
The Beaver. Okay.
Finn Balor as the Demon,
And yeah, there you
and
go.
Jerry Mathers as Dom
That's-
Mysterio. There you go. Yeah, we both picked Baylor, or Balor, excuse me. Obviously, I mean, it was just so obvious. They're rebuilding Balor, whether as the Demon or Diet Balor. Just something for everyone. He's a one-man buffet of wrestling styles.
yeah.
You know what? He's okay. He's grown on me in this turn. I don't know why. I kind of brushed him aside for years, thinking it was just this bad. I'm also done with what is it?
The Judgment Day?
Yeah, I'm done. That's played
Yeah.
out. It's played out. It's no original members now. I think it's played out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a reason they became the Judgment Day in the beginning, and now there's no reason for it to be there anymore.
The one person in that whole group that I really love, like I really wish Roxanne Perez would sort of be on her own, and they give her like because she's great. I mean, I really got into her when she was in Ring of Honor. I always thought she had something. She's got a good look. She's a really good wrestler. And don't get me wrong. I mean, she has a pretty good role in the group, but I mean, I would love
Yeah.
to see her do something by herself, and get a little bit of a push.
I agree. She somehow caught LA Knight disease.
Yeah.
If they're real good, they should be pushed, and they only get so far.
Yeah.
I don't understand, but that's just the way it is for now. All right, we have Penta keeping the Intercontinental title after a pretty good six-man ladder match. You know what? That had its moments for me. We both picked Rusev.
I know. I thought about that. I was like, wow, that was a big fail on our part.
Wow, because I thought, you know what? And I knew he wasn't going to win when on, what was it, Raw or SmackDown right before the show,
Yeah.
he beat up everybody in the match. Do you remember this?
Yep.
On TV? I went, well, there that goes. If somebody looks like Superman in the preview, he ain't going to win the match. That's
Right.
telegraphing he's not winning.
Yeah, I agreed with you only because I really thought it would seem to make sense that they would go with the guy that nobody kind of expects, and they haven't really pushed him a lot since he came back. So you figure what better way to push him where he can come out every week and say, all these other high flyers and these guys are the favorites for a ladder match. And here I am, Rusev, and I came out and I destroyed them all, something like that. So I really thought it would work. I guess we were wrong.
You know what? If they hadn't built him and kept him in the background, I think it would have been a great sleeper victory. To me, it's like when Kiana James qualified for the Elimination Chamber. Nobody picked her to be in there.
Right.
That was a real upset. So, I mean, it's similar to that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who thought Kiana James would be one of the six people in that match? I mean, that would be like throwing Otis in there. Yeah.
It's not going that far.
All right, okay. No, you know what? She's impressed me too. Kiana James has impressed me.
She's very good.
She can go.
Yeah.
And wow. I mean, it was just one match on TV, I think, that got her over, and they're gonna keep her over too, I think. Next thing, she'll feud with Julia, I guarantee you.
And speaking of Julia's great too. Like Julia, when she came in with Stephanie Vicaire, for whatever reason, Stephanie Vicaire is the one that got the big push. They broke her out and she became, she's a pretty big star now, but don't sleep on Julia. I mean, if you've seen any of the matches when she was given time in Japan, I mean, she's a really, really good wrestler. So I'm hoping she's another one that kind of breaks out of the pack and becomes a little bit of a bigger star.
There you go. And the opener is unforgettable. I have to give him credit for this. It was Obafemi trouncing Brock Lesnar, and after the match, Lesnar essentially retires. I don't know how else to put it. I had picked Femi, and my words were, "I don't want him to win, I want him to dominate." And I got what I wanted.
I
But you know what? It was exactly what they needed to do. The Lesnar thing was handled perfectly, no corny nonsense. I think he means it. I don't think he's coming back. I think he's had his share. He's gotta be in his 40s, right? At least, I would think.
I would think so. Maybe even mid to late, I would think.
You know what? He's got a daughter who's in college who's like I think a great shot putter or something like that.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
she
yeah.
goes into wrestling, she's gonna be big coin. She looks just like him.
I
It's
know.
amazing. It's amazing.
It's crazy. I know. So much like him.
Yeah. So we may not have seen the last of him, but we probably saw the last of him in the ring. I think they got the most they juice they could squeeze out of him as far as his career went. And the way that was all handled was absolutely fantastic. It took the bad taste out of my mouth from the finish of night one.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk that was he called it that he legit didn't let anybody know that he was doing that. Even Heyman had no idea. Now again, I don't know what the reality is, but there's talk that he decided to do it, that he didn't let anybody know. I guess the rumors were that he was going to retire at SummerSlam this year since it's in Minnesota. Whatever the case is, I will say that the aftermath of the match was fantastic. Yeah. I thought that whole moment, him leaving his boots in the ring, and he was emotional and hugging Heyman, and you could see Heyman was emotional. I also loved the touch of him really acknowledging the crowd
Yeah,
because that's something that you
he turned the character off and
right,
became
exactly.
himself,
You don't
which
see
was
that.
awesome.
And you don't really see that with Lesnar. You know, you might see that with other people, but Lesnar is always sort of like focused, badass. You know, he's going out there and just demolishing people. So I really like that aspect of it because again, it seemed real. Definitely the right guy won because obviously Femi's the one that they're going with. They're going to push him to the moon. So I have no problem with that result. The only thing that I disagree with you a little bit is I just would have liked to see it a little longer, and I know you can't have a 30-minute match with those 2, so I'm not saying that, but I did not want to see Lesnar lose in 4 minutes.
I do not think he's capable of going longer.
Then 4 minutes, though?
Yes, his last several appearances, I don't think he's physically capable with his girth and size. He's in shape, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw him do 6 minutes in the rare times that
I don't
he
know.
did some stuff in the cage match because he didn't have to work the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, there he stood. But name me a match where he goes 8 minutes, 7 minutes, even in his prime. Think about this. He was a demolish and get out guy, like when he
Yeah.
beat Cena. Remember when Cena never even got any
Yeah.
offense in and
Yeah.
that was like 4 minutes long. So I just don't think he is the type of athlete that could go a long match. I just don't. I think
It
and you know what? You had to get Femi over, and boy, did they.
They did, and again, I have no problems with that result. I mean, that was the only way to go, especially, you could kinda make a little bit of a case for Lesnar going over if this would have been a long program, if, they're gonna go and fight every PLE and you wanna kinda keep it going because then where is there to go? But if this is a one and done and Lesnar is legitimately retiring, I respect that, they did it, they wanted to get him over, and you respect Lesnar for doing it because Lesnar's a guy that
This is
never took it you could tell he's the type of guy that never took himself seriously. He's never one of these guys that's like, "Oh, I'm too great. I'm not gonna lose in 4 minutes." He doesn't care. He's getting his paycheck and he's out of there.
this is a new era Hogan Andre match.
Hmm,
Really. They're not as big a stars as they were, but
right.
this is one guy passing the torch to the other. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, no ego on the way out the door.
Right.
Great, just great, great. Capital G. I that was unexpected. The minute he started to take his gloves off, I went and I was like everybody else. I was like,
I
"Holy
know.
mackerel."
Me too.
There's only one reason a wrestler does that. And that's the new thing now. You're gonna leave your
The new
boots
thing,
or
I
you're
know.
gonna leave your
I
or
wonder when that
something in the ring,
started.
yeah.
I wonder when that
I
started
think it was
because
The Undertaker, to be honest with you.
was that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't done in the old days, that was not
No,
really something,
first of
was
all,
it?
nobody got a retirement ceremony in the old
Yeah.
days. You just disappeared. No, that's true. You know, that's really true. This stuff is modern new age stuff. I think it started with the Flair retirement, and
Mhm.
now they're looking to retire people so they're gonna have cake. No, I'm serious. I'm not saying it to be facetious. I think that they look forward to, giving guys big send-offs where they never did that, right? Guys just disappeared. There was never a Stan Stasiak goodbye party, right? And he was world champion, the heart punch specialist.
Yep. And that I thought when it was happening, when he was taking off his gloves and that moment was unfolding while I was watching it, the first thing I thought, because remember, this was the first match on night 2. The first thing I said was like, wow, this show's in the after one 4-minute match, this show's already better than the entire first night.
Absolutely true. I was thinking the same thing. It got all that. It got the flavor. It's like when you ate something bad, you using
Yeah.
Listerine, you can't get the taste out of your mouth.
Yeah.
This was the Listerine for night 2. It changed everything. Night 2 was not nearly as aggravating as night 1 was. Not even close. So if you wanted to give WrestleMania a letter grade from A to F, what is your grade?
Overall, right? Both nights?
Yes.
I would go C.
You're about to hear on the next segment how I really felt at this point when it was over. But my letter grade is a D minus.
Okay.
The stuff that I hated, I despised. It really didn't work for me, from the staging to the last minute ticket discounts to the hype. We've got 50,000. They got to stop doing that. Stop telling us how rich you are and let a family of 4 go to wrestling for a reasonable price. And I'm not talking WrestleManias. I mean, just generally, and bring back house shows. They're eliminating house shows. Instead, they're going to charge everybody out the nose for these bigger events. I hope TKO learned something. I'm sure they didn't. That's what I have to think. And I think the TKO thing may have been, I know they're not going anywhere, TKO, but I'll tell you what, I smell trouble. I just do. There's something odd going on with WWE. I can't put my finger on it. Some of this stuff doesn't even play like wrestling people came up with it. Like the
Mm.
McAfee thing.
It wasn't wrestling people, right? I think I was reported that was a TKO decision. They wanted some kind of celebrity involvement in that, and I think it stands to reason, right? Because look, they've done away with it now, right? McAfee
Yeah, he's
was
done.
beat by
Yeah.
Orton. Orton turned on him, and then on the next day, McAfee said something on his show like, "Oh, wrestling doesn't need saving after all." Like, that's the payoff?
Yeah. Yeah. So they said a lot of insider, really rugged stuff for it to mean nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, wrestling's doing just fine. He says, really, Pat? Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
God.
the payoff.
Pat McAfee's, Barstool Sports, Stephen A. Smith. Go down the list. The way sports is covered these days is for Neanderthals. It used to be dignified people like Chris Schenkel and Bill Mazer, and you can even put Howard Cosell in there. Haywood Harold Broom. Go down the list of the legendary sports commentators of our times,
Yeah, it's
or at least when
different
I
now.
was younger, and they were all dignified people. Now it's just a bunch of people yelling to be heard. I mean, McAfee's worth more money than several big companies at this point, from what I understand. For doing what? For
Yeah.
just being another radio shock jock, loudmouth sports guy. I rest my case. I may be a fogey, but you know what? I knew what it was like when I listened to a sports guy on the radio, and I learned something from him. Not juvenile name calling and just, lambasting people and stuff like that. Our pundits these days don't know how to punt.
It's a different ballgame now, you're right. It used to be insightful, analytical, where you feel like you're learning something
Yeah.
when you're hearing that, but now, right, it's someone like Stephen A. Smith is a great example, because it's just basically there to shock, there to be loud, there to, to try to be controversial. And McAfee is a typical example of that.
These people don't cover sports, they exploit it.
Yeah.
They exploit sports and blow things up into mini controversies when in many cases there's no controversy at all. And again, it's just the screaming guy on TV era. If you don't scream on a talk show, then you're not exciting and you're not worth watching, that type of thing. And Barstool Sports, don't get me started. All right. Don't even go there with me. I don't listen to any of that stuff. I just don't. ESPN didn't help either with the jokey Sports Center and all that stuff.
Yeah,
It was just slow erosion of standards and decorum. And I don't want to sound like an old fuss budget, but you know what? What's wrong with a guy giving me static sports numbers in an interview with a player and just saying what happened without having to interject opinion into it? And
Yeah.
people are such magpies, particularly in the ICW, the internet wrestling community, which will drive you nuts. After the Lesnar thing, you know what you saw, right? You read it, probably read it too. Do you really believe he's really retiring? No, this is an angle where him and he's going to attack what's his name, and they don't buy anything. It's like AJ's not retiring. This is just an angle to do.
Yeah.
Calm down.
No, but look, you're not going to get an argument from me with that grade with your D minus simply because look, it's so hard for me to, that's a hard question to combine both nights because there's so many different like sort of facets and there's little parts that you're looking at, the matches and the presentation. I mean, my big thing on the show, and not to get into it too deep, was that it was just ridiculous how short all the matches were for the most part. Other than the Reigns Punk match and maybe one or two others that had a little bit of time. I mean, these matches were going by so quickly, 4 minutes, 8
Yeah.
minutes, 9 minutes. And I'm like, this is a 4-hour show. Like, and there's only like 6 matches on each night. Why are they only 7 minutes, 8 minutes? It's because everything in between, it's like the video packages and the productions and just so many different things. Then they would have commercials and you'd sit there. And I have to say, I got so much done. I was doing some kitchen cleanup for our new kitchen. And as soon as a match was over, I would go and put something in the microwave. I'd put something away. I'd go take the dog out and I'd come back and the match wouldn't even start yet.
Wow.
That's my complaint.
They
But I
probably
mean, I'm giving it a C. It's sort of like I feel like it was an average show. It was average or a little below average from what they usually give, I think. I don't know.
Just as an aside, and I'm going to talk about this later in the show, my Netflix screwed up all night long. All night long. Like a match would
Oh,
end, my ESPN app screwed up all night long. All
wait,
night
would it
long.
rewind?
Yes, it rewound.
That's what
Yes.
happened to me. You're
Yeah.
watching it on the Roku, right?
What would happen was you would watch a match, they go to a commercial break, and then you see the ad where you see that little thing that says ad in yellow on the top. When that was over, you'd see a placard that said, "We'll be right back after this commercial
Yes.
break," and it would be the previous match that comes on.
Yes.
But
No,
I learned to fast forward. I figured, well, let me see if I can fast forward, and I did, and I watched 2 days of that fast forwarding. My thumb
me
is
too.
still sore from how many times I had to fast forward during those 2 days.
Me too.
Um,
I couldn't figure out what was going on when I watched the first night because I didn't realize it. And I'm sitting there and for a few minutes, like the segment is on and I'm literally saying to myself like an idiot, like, what? Like, didn't I just, and I thought I had deja vu for a second. I'm just like, didn't I just see this? And then I picked up the remote, hit fast forward. And then I figured, let me Google this and see if this is an issue, for
all over
everybody.
the place, yeah.
And apparently it's a major issue for people with the Roku that I guess like the ESPN, there's a glitch with ESPN on Roku where everybody is saying that. So they're like, oh, it's not a problem. Just keep the remote in your hand. And after every break, just make sure you fast forward. I'm like, okay, I can do that. But why do I have to do that? I mean, you're telling
Yes,
me that they can't fix this?
and I'll talk about this later in the show. American sports fans are getting it badly these days from these companies. Like, they're charging people more and we're getting less, and that's the truth, and we'll talk about that later on. But, I was right there with you, man. I figured it out, and you're
Yeah.
right, it was always that one ad where it was like
Yeah.
4 ads or 5 ads, one after another, and then it disappeared, and you'd see the placard, and then it would take you 20 minutes backwards.
Yeah.
So then you'd have to hit the remote, and I have a fast remote, it zips right to it, but the fact
Right.
is I had to do it between every single match of the
Every
weekend.
single match. Yeah.
And you
Without
know what?
fail.
At these prices, you shouldn't have to do that.
Exactly.
There's no excuse. You know what? The Netflix changeover had problems. This is having problems. Get your stuff together. The prices you people are charging, all of you, not just WWE, all of you, the providers, the gizmos, I don't care what it is. It's never been more expensive and more frustrating to be a sports fan who just wants to turn on the TV and watch something. Am I wrong?
You're right. I wanted to be able to walk out of the room, do something, and come back and watch the show. I didn't want to have to always, I forgot to fast forward. I don't want to miss anything. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it was
made no
crazy.
sense.
It was the entire
The whole show for 2
yeah,
nights. Yeah.
for 2 nights. Every single match too. Again, congratulations, Brock Lesnar. It wasn't all bad. We still have some pro wrestling, even if part of it is invisible. Anyway, I think did I say that in this segment or the other segment we just recorded about the Invisible Man? It was the
That
other
was the
segment?
last that was the last segment, but,
Yeah, I'm now the chairman of the Invisible Man fan club. You see my T-shirt? Of course you can.
well, from what I understand, this was a fake retirement that Lesnar is really gonna retire at SummerSlam against the Invisible Man.
Invisible Man. Yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna be the match.
Joey Janela, wrestling public enemy number 1. All right, Generation XY, who you got coming?
Kimberly Russell is a name that people might not know offhand, but I've been going back and forth with her rep, and it looks like we're setting this one up. She was an actress on the '80s sitcom, and I'm a big '80s sitcom guy. The '80s sitcom Head of the Class. They're from the show. Howard Hessman, obviously from WKRP in Cincinnati. Anyway, it was a popular show on for several seasons in the '80s with actually Robin Givens, the former Miss Mike Tyson, got her start on this show. She was one of the students. Anyway, she was one of the actresses on the show, and I've been trying to land somebody from that show. So I've been going back and forth with her. So that's something we got coming up. But again, as always, I'm always on the lookout for new and interesting and eclectic guests.
Okay. Well, hang on for a second. Here comes Steve Gennarelli back with this for a look at. Well, we're not looking at anything. He's got to walk me off the ledge after WrestleMania weekend. We'll get into all the angst, and we'll be right back. About 5 seconds. Well, it's been an interesting time historically here in professional wrestling, and I'm left feeling very odd. And I talked to a buddy of mine the other day, and he says, "You want to vent?" I said, "Sure, I'll vent. But I'm going to do it in public." So sitting over to my right over here is someone you all know from podcast land, from Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam on the Arcadian Vanguard Network. It's your friend, my friend. He's everybody's friend. One of the great guys, one of the great experts about pro wrestling. It's Steve Gennarelli. Steve, how are you?
Bob, I watched WrestleMania and lived to tell about it.
I watched every second of it as well. I'm proud to say that I lived up to my pre-proclaimed proclivities in that I did not watch any pregame, postgame, or any of that stuff. I may have had it running in the background, but I was doing something else, waiting for it to come on. Did you have the technical difficulties that many people did?
There were times where, and not many, there were maybe 2 or 3 instances where it was buffering. That's to be expected, but it was very minimal. No problems with that. How about you?
Mine was rife with problems.
Really?
Right, and I'll explain that when I go into my rant here. I actually have notes for myself because so much happened in like a 3 or 4 day period here when it comes to my enjoyment of wrestling that I am left with a melancholy feeling, unlike at any time in my wrestling life. I am very upset about things that have been going on. I figure, Steve, I'll vent to you. Maybe you can make me feel better about things after we have our little discussion. How's that?
That sounds great.
All right, so I sat down to watch WrestleMania with a bad taste in my mouth. Followed the worst build-up, at least in terms of especially the Rhodes Orton match that I've ever seen. It was just awful. I mean, it was crazy. Nobody could figure it out. Here comes Pat McAfee, all that stuff. I wasn't in a good mood. So it's a couple days earlier, and I go on X, which used to be Twitter, and I see Puccio sent me a couple clips of Indian international wrestlers taking dangerous risk, like what appeared to be a female wrestler dropping literally from the roof of a building onto a bunch of wrestlers who were on the floor. I'm not talking a balcony in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow she climbed up into the rafters very high. I mean, very high. It looked to be about 30, 40 feet. I mean, crazy.
Good Lord.
And she dropped down on a bunch of wrestlers who were on the floor. And then he sent me a clip of a guy doing a splash on a prone guy, bouncing off the hard table to the arena floor. The table didn't break. The other guy didn't get hit. The only guy got hurt was the guy doing the diving. It's the usual life-threatening nonsense for the enjoyment of the 9 people who are the audience. It's So I go on to the Wrestling Observer. This one really bothers me because these are people I know. I go on the Wrestling Observer website. I always check by the way, I'm very loyal to that site for news.
I am too. That's where I go to.
I go on the Wrestling Observer and see the Sandman had his last match at a card called GCW Spring Break X card from Joey Janelle. I guess he owns it, runs it, whatever.
Okay.
So it's the Sandman had his last match. Now, I worked with the Sandman during early ECW days. Good guy. Worked hard and, had an amazing, amazing run in ECW. But his opponent was billed as, I can't believe I'm saying this. His opponent was billed as the Invisible Man.
How did he pull that off?
He wrestled literally nobody.
You got to be kidding me.
And this wasn't all right? Also in this match were Bill Alfonso as the Invisible Man's manager, appearances from people like Vampiro and Missy Hyatt, and none other than Mick Foley. And Sandman lost the match, and I say that with my fingers in air quotes. So now we're having cards. Also on the same card, by the way, there were 2 inflatable dinosaurs against other wrestlers.
That's ridiculous.
All right. Okay. All right. So that same day, now, a few years ago, TNA ran a murder angle. Actually, they ran 2, but the first of the 2 was a female wrestler named Allie who became the bunny in AEW. Somebody murders her, right, in the undead realm. They're in a place called the undead realm, all right? I don't know what it means. It's some sort of haunted house where all the female wrestlers are stuck in some sort of horror netherworld or something.
Okay.
And of course, they have that hack Father James Mitchell, but also involved this lady again, named Allie again, Tessa Blanchard, other of the women, I don't know. There's a blood-covered bunny in the thing and all kinds of spooky oddball stuff, none of which makes a lick of sense, and it's about as entertaining as a cyst removal with an antiseptic. Allie or Bunny or whoever, who was killed off a few years ago, has returned to attack somebody. None of it made a lick of sense. And I'm going, take the Bray Wyatt film stuff times 50, and that's what this stuff was like. All right? Okay. So I look at a station break promo slide for WrestleMania, and the slide is Vegas destroyed and on fire. Like, this is their placard that they put up. Like it's all just carnage and things burning and whatnot. And just, yep. It kind of reminds me of Dory Funk Jr. versus Jack Briscoe, doesn't it?
Nah.
Right? That's the first thing that sprung to mind. So I tuned into WrestleMania, had all sorts of huge stage, and of course, nothing happened in the ring until about 20 minutes after 6, when the thing started at 6. All the women got new outfits. It probably cost more than the entire budget on an indie card for a 2,000-seat arena. I mean, they were all spectacularly dressed. Product placement everywhere. You had banks on the turnbuckles and things on the ring posts and Slim Jims on the tables that were used to body slam through and all this other stuff. Now, Paige made a surprise return. We all remember Paige fondly. And here's the beauty part. It was supposed to be a surprise, but nobody in the crowd knew it was a surprise. They had their posters up saying, "Welcome back, Paige," and all this stuff, because nobody in WWE can keep a secret, and they want to keep a secret.
Right.
Please explain that to me. How is it better to have Paige come out when everybody knows it, when it's supposed to be a surprise? But the whole wrestling world knew it, because they told everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. And by the way, Seth Rollins' ring robe had smoke coming from it for no apparent reason when he made his way to the ring. I mean, but here's the thing. These days, now, the build-up with McAfee has been one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's just awful. And these days, wrestlers are really hurting each other, even at WWE. I mean, the eye injury on the second night with Cody Rhodes, did you see what he looked like? Did you see the pictures?
Yes.
And then recently, Liv Morgan bashed her head into Roxanne Perez after she got bashed, and they both came out in concussion protocol. And Liv Morgan had an egg on her forehead for about a week. So they're really hurting each other because, rah, 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 here we go. You're going to have to walk me off the ledge. And I want to, before I do make my point about that, the weekend on sports TV. All right, the weekend, not just wrestling. Amazon Prime now has NBA playoffs games on.
Okay.
They had the first game of the first round of the Knicks-Hawks NBA playoff series. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, dude. I couldn't believe it. So people pay out the yin yang for this stuff, and everybody's getting gouged for pricing. If they want to see every playoff game, you have to have like 5 different services, like everything else now. Now, here's the thing, though. I'm watching this game. I have watched basketball on television for 30 years. I have been involved with basketball production, as a sports guy when I was in college and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I have seen community college basketball games that were photographed better than this game were. The camera work was better in the community college 25 years ago than it was here.
I did see your comment. They were following the ball, not the
they
overall.
were raising and lowering the. You're not supposed to do that at any sport. You're not supposed to. It looked like an episode of Law and Order, where the camera's all jangly and it makes it look realistic and stuff. I was getting seasick watching a basketball game. It's got to be static.
Sounds like a roller coaster ride.
You can move left to right, sure. You can't move up and down. And this is supposedly a professional thing. So, and then both nights of the WrestleMania feed. And again, some people are paying at the nose for this stuff. People are paying, what is it, $30 a month if you have to buy that app for ESPN? Meanwhile, here was my problem. I've read other problems. This was my particular problem. You'd watch a match, right? They'd go to commercial break. And then you see the inserted ads, the little ones that say ad on an upper right-hand corner, which are known as inserted ads. When those ads stopped, there was a placard that said, "We'll be back after this commercial break."
Right.
And the next thing you saw was the previous match being replayed both nights. And I figured this out. So I hit the fast forward on my remote, and it took me to the spot where real time was. But I had to do that on every match over 2 nights.
Really?
Yes. And I read much worse. Now, I managed to see all the matches in their entirety.
Right.
But I read things where people were getting feet cut off and all this other stuff. The American sports fan is getting gouged like I've never seen. Not only are you paying more, you're getting less. I can't put it into words. I mean, the whole WrestleMania is nothing but commercial tie-ins and hype for the sponsors and celebrity stuff. And apparently there's a high roller guy who got a seat at the announce table for paying him $80 million or something.
Yeah.
But now let's get back to the wrestling. I think I'm done with today's stuff. I have been loyal to it. I've kept watching it. I talked to so many guests and so many say, I don't look at it anymore. So what's my problem? Should I be next, Steve Gennarelli? Should I just, Raw's on, as you and I tape this, it's a Monday night, it's heading for 8 o'clock.
Right.
Should I even bother turning the television on? I ask you, are you going to walk me off the ledge, or are we going to just be calm about this and just swallow hard and see the occasional good match like Gunther and Seth Rollins? WrestleMania was good, and I thought that the main event of the last night was good. Other than that, I don't give much to recommend, and I don't get excited about this stuff anymore. It feels like a burden. Take 10 hours out of your weekend to watch this stuff.
And for anybody listening to Bob and I on this show, keep in mind that we are representing the outdated world here. We're both outdated.
Preach.
But I want to say this. I mean, I was watching, maybe not as much as Bob did. I didn't watch every moment of WrestleMania. I tried my best. I tried to watch as much as I could. But I was trying to sum up the words of, why am I watching, or what am I seeing, or what is this? And I mean, one thing that kept coming back to my mind is that WrestleMania as we knew it, from Hogan and Andre and Savage beating Hogan or Savage losing to Hogan and all the good stuff that we remember from 20, 30 years ago, or even 40 years ago, all that stuff is much more watered down, and you're adding in this whole complete other element of, it's almost like, I have a buddy of mine that maybe once or twice a year, he'll go to a Comic-Con. I don't know why he really goes. I don't know what he gets out of that, but watching the show yesterday is what I imagine Comic-Con to be, with people in these elaborate outfits. It's not cosplaying. These are actually the athletes dressing up in these elaborate costumes. I mean, I can't even imagine, like, if Hulk Hogan came to the ring that one fella did with the mink coat that was like 40 feet behind him, the train that went on forever. I mean, yeah, there's always a place in wrestling for costumes and stuff to kind of make it more exciting, make it more different. But now it's just like this whole Comic Con experience that we saw yesterday. I mean, it's overwhelmed the wrestling. The wrestling is just like an add-on or a bonus at this point.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see actual wrestling. I mean, there was a point where Rhea Ripley ties up with her opponent, and they actually did a lockup like the old days. They actually did the lockup in the center of the ring to begin the match. Shortly thereafter, the match really just lost significance. I mean, they just went to start do all their spots and stuff. And I mean, Bob and I think I'll speak for Bob. I think we both want to see wrestling where there's wrestling, not just like every match is a spot fest. That's the biggest turnoff to me personally.
They're selling the sizzle, not the steak, as an old, old bromide, but they're selling, a city burning down, not the steak. I mean, it's like everything is hype, 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 hype. 15 minutes to walk to the ring, to going down a ramp in a football stadium. I mean, it's like, it's just wearying. It's a chore to watch this stuff between the noise and the tumult, and the ring announcers don't ring announce anymore. They act.
Right.
They act
right.
out
They
everybody's
stand up.
name. And, they're representing the Judgment Day. I mean, it's just growling into the mic. Come on. Yeah. But, but there's the thing. I look for alternatives. I get upset with them too. This
Yeah.
is the problem. Anything new right now. Now you got people wrestling Invisible Man. You know what I'm going to be honest with you. That pisses on the graves of the great wrestlers that we grew up watching, who protected kayfabe, who made sure that at least they made sure everything looked realistic. I mean, there's always been fan wrestler interactions and people know what the score is. That's always been that way. It was that way when I was working for PWI. But even in the 90s, when I was with PWI, we did our best to protect it too. That was our jobs.
Right.
I think today's stuff takes a big dump on everything that those old timers ever tried to do. The villains of the old days would have to look over their shoulders everywhere they went, and they knew that going into the job.
Right.
They didn't get looked at funny by accident because somebody recognized them in a Burger King or something, and when they're they're Baron Bond to somebody or something. It's like it's going to come with the territory, and you had to know that.
Well, the biggest the two matches that impressed me the most, the Rollins match with Gunther,
right,
to CM Punk against Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I mean that match to me, even though I love both of the guys, I think they're both Hall of Famers and icons or whatever. I just wanted it to end. I wanted that match to end. It was just, I don't know how many false finishes there were, but I mean, it just lost me after a while. I was just begging. I mean, the way they told the story and the fact that CM Punk eventually lost on a more standard move just out of pure exhaustion, that part made sense to me, and I like that part of it. Watching those two wrestle in the ring, it's kind of like going to one of these big modern day concert shows like a Coachella, and they have all these acts, all these new acts, but at the end, hey, we're gonna have Fleetwood Mac come out, and they're gonna do every song that they ever did. It's gonna take about 4 hours, but you're gonna see Fleetwood Mac at the end of this marathon show. And that's how I felt watching CM Punk and Reigns. I mean, I love the guys, but how many false finishes can you watch? I was ready to pull my hair out.
Well, here's the problem with today's wrestling. Wasn't the object always simply to pin the guy's shoulders to the mat? Now you have to obliterate. I talk about this all the time. You have to obliterate the opponent. You can't just beat him.
Right.
You have to leave him for dead, panting and bleeding and laying there gasping for air. Now, even in the worst of the good guy, bad guy days, it wasn't always like that in main events. When Koloff beat San Martino in 71, he wasn't trying to kill him. He was just trying to beat him.
Yeah. When Honky Tonk Man beat Steamboat, it was just like a roll-up. It was just almost like a small package. I mean, it's like, those things happen, and they weren't trying to kill each other. It was just trying to win a title. That's all.
And there's the thing, all the matches are long. There's never a surprise 2.5-minute match. Or maybe the Obafemi thing was short. Yeah, that was short.
4 to 5 minutes it was.
And by the way, that was very satisfying too. I thought that the way everything came off was perfect. Minute Rights perfect, including Brock Lesnar's apparent retirement. I thought it came out really, really well.
Right. Yeah. That part was very emotional. I'm not a fan of his really, but I mean, for longtime fans, I mean, he's been one of the standard bearers for them, and to see Paul Heyman react like that, that was a real moment on a show that was otherwise so completely fake.
And the next morning I go on, or even the same night. What, you believe he's really retiring? It's just another angle. I'm like, I can't take it anymore. There's another thing. The IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community. Oh
Yeah.
my God. The skin crawls up my back.
Yeah.
The skin, I'm sorry, guys out there on Facebook and everything. So many of you just make me sick. It's like, the points, well, that goes for baseball too and all sports. Everybody's whining and complaining and character assassinating. That's what bothers me. You're character assassinating people you don't even know.
Right. No, that's very
It's at the
true.
point now where I can't even look at wrestling news on Facebook. It just bothers me. The skin crawls up my back. It's creepy.
This was the thing that really resonated with me was I'm watching Rollins wrestle Gunther, two great stars, and they had an interesting storyline in the match. The interference of Braun Breaker, who will be a upcoming champion in the future at some point. He's never boring. He's always interesting. But the thing that really resonated with me was almost from the moment I started watching that match, I felt like these guys are hurting each other. And like when Braun Breaker is running they said he was running at 25 or 28 miles an hour, and he throws himself into Rollins. I mean, that seems pretty legit to me. And I mean, some of the stuff that they were doing to each other in the match, and this goes for almost every match on the card. There was so much force involved, and that what happened to Liv Morgan recently with her head.
Well, what
Go ahead,
about the
Bob.
final match where Orton legit punk kicks Rhodes in the eye? Did you see
Yeah.
the after pictures of that?
Yes. Yes.
It's what are they doing?
But I think the thing that attracted us in the beginning, like when you and I were watching in the 70s, when we discovered this thing called wrestling, you have a guy like a Harley Race, and he's wrestling whoever, and let's just say Nick Bockwinkel, and they're wrestling each other, and they're doing these like things that you can't believe. I mean, they're slamming each other, they're doing body presses, they're doing all these moves, great wrestling maneuvers, and you're wondering like, how do they do this? But it was never like, well, I'm going to run at full speed and like throw my knees into this guy's head or his chest or whatever. To me, it just seems like it's all so everybody's willing to take it for the team. And I think that these guys are all young, attractive young men and women, but when they're in their 40s or 50s and they have like all these injuries, are they going to be in wheelchairs? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Cody Rhodes is really hurt right now, as we talk right now.
Right.
As far as everything I've read, he's got contusions all over his head, his eyes. Oh, that eye thing looked horrible last night, and that's going to look worse today. I can't imagine what it looks like. So I don't know what to say other than you're right. They are willingly hurting each other, whereas for 50 years, you could make it look like you're literally killing each other, and everybody got in their car and drove home afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. And Brett,
That's what working is.
yes,
First time in my podcast, I'm using both hands. That's what working is. Working is not standing on a basketball hoop jumping on somebody. Working is working the crowd. It means work the crowd.
right,
Make them believe. Make them care.
right.
Make them care. That's not what they're doing now. Isn't working. It's like you say. It's like mutual. I don't know. Yeah, we'll take a little pain for the team, but when does a little pain, when you miss trying to apply it, become big pain or dangerous injuries?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll quote Bret Hart here. I mean, he obviously suffered a major injury when he got hurt by Goldberg. He eventually had a stroke, maybe based off that injury. He said this for all of us and for all the wrestlers. The idea of a wrestling match is that you perform this match and you protect yourself, you protect your opponent, you protect each other. It's almost like a dance. You're going to do all this magic, you're going to entertain the people, but you're going to leave together in one piece whole. You're not going to do anything to hurt each other or yourself. Now it's just like, well, that we're going to do whatever the hell we like, and we have all these people here, and And when I look at the crowd of fans, I mean, I wouldn't wanna be a fan, I wouldn't wanna be there, but to me, when I watch all these fans, and no offense, fans listening, it's like all these people look like the kind of people that would roll down their windows, stick their head out when they're driving past a car wreck. They all look like people that are just so excited to see a car wreck in the ring or something happen on the show when old fogies like me and Bob, we would just like to see a frigging wrestling match. I don't know what we're gonna have to play a video game, I guess, to make that happen. Maybe I don't know.
It goes back to the idea of you have to obliterate your opponent, not just pin him. And that,
It,
there needs to be re-education, particularly with the booking regarding that. Is it enough to wound someone's pride without literally wounding them, in the storyline? And I hate that word storyline too. You see, but I'm a fogey. I'm a fogey. I like things better. I'll put it this way. I watched all this wrestling this weekend and all this news about the wrestling, and my stomach got upset. When I worked at PWI, I watched 16 hours of syndicated wrestling every week, and I loved every show,
right,
every moment of it.
right.
Times change. It doesn't mean I got to be happy about it. And I'm going to keep calling out stuff that I think is patently ridiculous. And I have to. And particularly this thing with TNA, the Undead, it's all just a big show. You can watch, I say it again, you can watch a show on Netflix. You don't have to watch wrestling on Netflix. They should be two different things. A show and wrestling should be two different things. I don't know. This. I feel like I'm screaming into a cave.
There
And
was
what the kids don't believe, I'll just say this, that you can fake hurting each other and make it look real. And I think there's this new mindset of this new breed of fans that really likes it when they hurt each other. They're into that. They're waiting to see that happen. Either that or the most dynamic, flippy spots they can see.
right.
Nobody's rooting for anybody. They're rooting for spots and injuries.
Yeah.
That's today's wrestling.
No, it's just such a huge turnoff for me, and I just I the only reason I put the show on to begin with was I wanted to take an opportunity, almost like give it a chance. Can they do something to impress me with the wrestling? And yeah, there were moments there I was impressed by, but why putting on holds on people is so foreign to a wrestling match now. I mean, in the old days, yeah, you would have spots and matches, but now it's like all spots. I mean, there's no psychology. That's the thing. Bob and I grew up on psychology, and there's no psychology in wrestling.
There was a moment in this violent Roman Reigns CM Punk match last night where, out of nowhere, Reigns put a chin lock on Punk. I almost fell on the floor.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a chin lock. And I'm
Yep.
like, there's a wrestling hold in this match. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing now. I don't know, Steve. I'll get off the ledge, but I'm going to wear like goggles from now on when I watch the stuff. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's like, here's the problem too. This stuff used to satisfy me when I was working in the business, when I was a kid, even a young adult. Always satisfied me. It was like a great escape from reality. And now it irritates me.
Right.
And for a lot of reasons. This is the biggest, the best, the biggest arena, the biggest crowd, the biggest, the best, the harder. And when you're trying to outdo yourself all the time, there's going to come that moment when you fall off that cliff, both
Right.
professionally and financially. And
Right.
I think they have screamed, we're the biggest, the best, while charging people ungodly sums of money to see cards like this. And it can't last, particularly with the economy in the shape that it's in right now. They may be riding for a fall that they don't anticipate.
And you made a very good point earlier on about the storytelling. All of a sudden they have McAfee, who is obviously a tie-in with ESPN. They knew that the show was going to be partially on ESPN. They wanted to tie him into the main event. Even Vince had beat him in a match a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, the guy doesn't mean anything to the wrestling audience other than he's another talking head. And the way that they did the storyline of, okay, he's calling Orton and he's going to be a factor with Orton. And then during the match, Jelly Roll, there, the de facto super celebrity, he comes in and splashes him during a match. I mean, it just makes no sense. I mean, if Hillbilly Jim was ringside at WrestleMania 1 and Bob Orton is doing a number on Hogan, from the outside, and then Hillbilly Jim climbed the gate and came in the ring, and knocked Orton out, that would make sense because there was a connection between Hillbilly Jim and Hogan. And but now something like this, where McAfee all of a sudden becomes so supposedly an integral part of Orton's career, it makes zero sense. Zero sense.
Match logic doesn't matter anymore. Things that just kind of happen. Why did Randy Orton RKO McAfee when
Right.
he came in to referee?
Right.
Now, the previous SmackDown, they had set up a thing with Aldis where he had signed something, and I think that's what it is, that he could referee. If I think that was part of that thing he signed with Nick Aldis. There was a spot there in the show before they drove off.
Right.
So that's what that was. So why did Orton give him an RKO? What did he do wrong? He came out to cheat and win the match for him. Trying to make any sense out of how this is crazy. In the old days, if somebody used a foreign object as somebody and pinned him, you saw why that was bad, and the ref didn't see it for some reason. You could make sense of that. Now there's so many convoluted spots in every match, you can't make sense out of anything that just happened. So it's a chore to watch today's wrestling. It really is, because if you try to put any type of sports logic into it, they flew that coop about 5 years ago. There's less sports in wrestling, even though they're doing athletic things.
Back when the national expansion happened, like 84, 85, 86, a lot of people were saying, oh, the WWF is so cartoony. Yeah, that might be true. But they still had the referees. They still had the Dick Worleys. They still had the Dick Kroll. People like that were still around back then. And they actually did their best to enforce the rules. And if there were things going on that shouldn't have, they did their very best. Today's wrestling referees are like mannequins. They stand around, they wave their arms like air traffic controllers. They really add nothing to the match. Now, if the referees of today were like the old Dick Worleys and Dick Krolls and really managed a match, then you could have something like a lights out match and make it really mean something because, oh my God, we're going to see something that is anything goes, no holds barred. But because the referees today they let anything go, so every match is in essence a no holds barred match.
Of course, this one fly in the ointment of all of our complaining, in that, well, they still pretty much filled the football stadium for 2 days in a row.
They did.
And they are drawing sellout crowds to most of their Raws and SmackDowns. So you can't complain about it in terms of why should they change it, because they're doing fine just the way they are. Things have not hit a wall for them yet. Again, this is all just me. This is all just my dissatisfaction. And here's the problem. Anybody that we talk to, I'd say 80% of the veteran people in the business, even in the business that we've had on this show, say, no, I don't look at it anymore.
Right.
Because it walked away from us.
Right.
We're not leaving wrestling, but wrestling left us a long time ago. It's just the way it is. And we're going to have to swallow hard if we keep watching it, accept what they're putting down. That's it.
Right near the end of WrestleMania, I think there may be 2 or 3 matches left. One of those commercials was a promo for a Paramount movie coming up. I think it comes out in October, and the movie is called Double Dragon, which is a takeoff on an old video game that was popular in the 80s. Cody Rhodes is an actor in the movie, and he plays a kind of a comedic character. And when you watch the Double Dragon promo or trailer, there's a lot of like wrestling type people in the trailer. It may not be a wrestling ring, but this Double Dragon world or scenario, it's like a wrestling match. You have people of all shapes and sizes that come and compete, and there's Cody Rhodes is right there amongst them. But I was saying to myself, it's like, well, Cody's already in this complete fantasy world that's called WWE. Putting him in a movie that is another completely different fantasy world. I mean, it's not that different than what he does every week in his real life. I mean, it's not like the old days where, oh my God, a wrestler's going to be in a movie. It's going to be so exciting. It's basically just almost like him jumping back to AEW again.
Those movies are so faceless that anybody could play those parts. I hate to say that. Anybody with the right builds could play those parts. I'm not excited about things like that.
Yeah.
The question is, will people say, oh boy, Cody Rhodes is in it? You know what they didn't do in that ad? Put the names of any of the actors in. So if you just glanced at it, maybe some people looked at him with the big hair that he had and not recognize him as Cody Rhodes and not go because you didn't think it was him.
Right, right.
Attention to detail, folks. Try it sometime. Okay, that's it. I'm off the ledge now, but I needed to vent, and I'm glad you came here to vent. And do you have anything that you want to vent about?
Well, I do have something a little bit non-WrestleMania to vent about.
No, no,
Uh,
I've had enough of WrestleMania, and it's in my
all right.
rearview mirror. So anything, the floor is yours, my friend.
So other than yourself, Bob, one of the people in wrestling I really respect probably more than any other would be Brian Solomon, the great author and just a fantastic guy. But he said something on the show last week that I do take offense to. He was talking about the wrestling buildings and wrestling shows, and he was talking about how boring the MSG shows were in the 70s or the 80s. And, if they had gone with a more of a Southern style or had the Mid-South style of wrestling or Georgia style or Florida style in New York, it would have done much more business. It would have been a lot bigger than what actually did happen. And I take offense to that because, I grew up on the WWF and then WWF later on. They did provide a great service to us fans back in those days. The Bruno era, the Backlund era, they didn't give you tons of wrestling, tons of angles, but the little bit that they gave you, the sizzle, the steak, it was enough to get you coming back all the time. And Bob and I were talking about this before the show. In that era, Vince Senior's biggest fear was having another riot, like the riot that they had in New York in the late 50s, where he was afraid he was going to lose the ability to run shows at MSG, that they were going to kick him out. So it's not like they could have had Georgia or Mid South wrestlers come up and do all these outlandish angles and things, and it would have made business bigger than say Bruno's business or Backlund's business. I think that the fans in the Northeast were perfectly happy with the Bruno era, the Backlund era. You can't take that away. Any thoughts on that, Bob?
Well, number one, the New York State Athletic Commission would never allow Memphis style wrestling in Madison Square Garden, where they're brawling all over the place and people are running around the ring. They had serious rules, and they would really enforce stuff like that for real. Secondly, again, it's the old bromide that wrestling became popular in 1984. No, wrestling sold out the Garden for decades, or for the most part, they sold out for at least 2 decades, maybe 3, most of the time, or drew very, very healthy crowds most of the time, good or bad weather. The fans were there, particularly since you had, public transportation. You could get there through the Garden. That makes the Garden a singularly unique arena. So they always did fine. The wrestling fans in New York were amongst the most loyal fans around. I don't see how you could have done much better than they already did. Maybe from looking at it from a wrestling standpoint, things could have been more exciting in certain ways. Vince Sr. was exceedingly loyal to the veteran wrestlers. You'd see them on every card, in the undercards. It get a little samey, sure. But I didn't hear anybody complaining about it. My first match in 1977 was sold out, and they were into everybody that was on the show. To be nice about it, I think things were just fine the way they were.
Right.
Every organization had its flavor, and that was the flavor. Who made more money than the Worldwide Wrestling Federation? I think maybe Vern Gagne did, but I think they were doing just great.
Yeah, I think that the WWF and the AWA were kind of 1 and 2, and the NWA, all these other smaller groups, cumulatively they were bigger than the WWF and the AWA. I think that the wrestlers of that era and the managers too, of course, our famous 3 managers, they're the unholy trio, they could really talk you into the building, as the old saying goes. And again, no offense to the Southern wrestling, is great, and technically it is probably superior to New York wrestling. But I will say that oftentimes when I watch these old clips of, say, Tully Blanchard or somebody on one of these shows, to me, it almost seems like they're begging you to come in the building. They're not talking you into the building. They're begging you into the building. I will say that I think Vince Senior's approach was, we're going to give you a product that you're going to like. You're going to enjoy it. I think because a lot of the promoters in the South were week to week, they had to be more outlandish. They had to be more creative and come up with, something to bring you back next time. And unfortunately, that's how the Dusty Finish and some of this other stuff got going. The Bruno era, the Backlund era, then even with Hogan's era, I think that the McMahons really did a great job promoting in New York. I just wanted to say that.
Look, Chicago pizza is different than New York pizza, right?
Right.
Minneapolis pizza, let's not even talk about it.
There you go.
Right? I mean, it was just different strokes for different folks, as they used to say in the '70s, man. Here, I'm doing a peace symbol here. Groovy, baby. If I could wake up tomorrow morning and it's 1976 again, and I knew there was a Pedro Morales versus, or who was the champion? I guess 76 or
Bruno.
Bruno. If you
Yep.
told me Bruno was going to take on Cowboy Bob Duncombe, I'd be on the subway right now heading for the Garden.
Right.
Nothing else mattered. I mean, it's like we loved our East Coast wrestling. This is what people don't get. People
Right.
of our era, Steve, you're the same way. We loved this East Coast stuff. We didn't think we were missing anything. And we read the magazines and we knew that there were wrestlers all around the world that we hadn't
Right.
seen in different styles. You could see them in those bloody covers that we used to, in the London magazines used to publish all the time.
Right.
The McMahons did fine. I was thoroughly entertained. I never left a wrestling show in Albany or New York City and said, it stunk.
I just wish that the promoters of today, whether it's Triple H or Nick Khan or somebody else, I wish that they would just take an afternoon, get 4 hours of old WWF, and somebody would have to handcuff them to a bed to make them watch it. But I wish they could understand the logic of the angles, how little things meant so much, the details. I mean, the fans that were so addicted to this, they really looked at those details and it kept them coming back. You know, much like Bob was saying earlier, it breaks my heart what wrestling has become, which is anything but wrestling. It's just it's an extravaganza of hype. It's an extravaganza of opulence, decadence, whatever you want to call it. But it's like a pubic hair on the this whole body of this thing called WWE.
But here's the problem too. A person like me would go, okay, I'm not enamored with what's going on. Let's go see some indie cards. Listen to what I just talked about.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
the
it's all
Invisible
nonsense.
Man. All
There's
that.
nothing. If you think wrestling humor in the majors is terrible, try it in the indies.
Right.
And I watched another one. I should I say it out loud? I'll say it out loud. I watched Gotham Wrestling on some cable station. the
Okay,
other day.
sure.
Gotham Wrestling. And it was over angled the same way everything else is. You didn't know who anybody was if you're just tuning in. They didn't explain where these people came from or why they acted the way they did. It was the same thing, overly broad characters. What happened today if just a guy standing there waving at the crowd on one side and another guy who's a little bit rougher and let him go at it? That's all you
Right.
needed. It's
Right.
all they needed for 50 years. Now
Yeah.
everybody, I'm going to get you. I'm going to make sure that your every waking moment is a living hell. Why? Every time. It's like not only do I hate you, I'm going to make you wish you'd never been born. It's just getting old. This level of theatric rancor, nobody buys it.
And what breaks my heart is like Liv Morgan appears on the Stephen A. Smith show on ESPN. I think it's their most highest rated show, and she's there with her face all beaten up with a big nog on her head like Steamboat after getting Jake Roberts DDT, and all the bruises and welts on her face. And meanwhile, some jabroni at home is messaging the website for Stephen A. Smith saying, "Why did you have a phony wrestler on your show, Stephen A. Smith, with all her makeup to show her fake injuries?" And when when you and I, Bob, know it's anything but fake. I mean, that's just heartbreaking to me.
There are people that think the stuff is real is fake, and the people who think the stuff is fake, it's real.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a take on something Jim Cornette once said. I think Cornette once said something like, when we were in the business, we were protecting each other and everybody thought it was real. We looked like we were hurt. Now everybody's hurting each other. Everybody thinks it's fake.
I watched that one match, that ladder match. Rusev took this big bump, like fell from one ladder onto another ladder. I thought his back was broken. I mean, he was lying there on the floor for like 5 minutes in real time. Nobody came out. No doctor came out, looked at him, whatever. I guess he was just working. I certainly believed it. He eventually got up. He got back in the match. He sold that he was hurt, and that became part of the match. But there were a few times during WrestleMania where I was just thinking that person is really severely hurt or has internal injuries. And to me, that's not entertainment. I'm not watching to see people get hurt. I want to be entertained by impressive wrestling.
But you know what? There've always been people. I mean, in our era, they had the stretcher job.
Yeah.
Preliminary guys would be stretchered out on television. The stretcher job. But by the same token, it was rare. And like I say, now everybody's trying to obliterate each other. With all these risky maneuvers they make, there's more of a chance for injury than ever before, and serious injury too. I mean, Jordan Grace, I think, just got back from a big injury, and a couple of other female wrestlers were also hurt, and they were out. The injuries are common now, and they're pretty good injuries. I mean, it's type to keep you out for a month, 2 or 6. So I don't know, Steve. Are we just old men howling, "Bring me my soup in the deli"? Is that what? Give me my soup. You know
Where's
what?
my pickle?
I know I asked for chicken with stars, not chicken soup. I want the stars. They're like mini macaroni. Chicken soup has no macaroni in it. Get me
Well,
the white one. Are you the manager? This is
I'm
New York Deli talk, folks. Thank you.
yeah. Well, I mean, this is how absurd this WrestleMania thing is. Last year, and this is wrestling's equivalent of the final skit on SNL, Saturday Night Live. Last year they had Randy Orton in a match with Joe Hendry that probably lasted 90 seconds. And to me, that's your Saturday Night Live skit that starts at 12:52 and they end it when the cast comes out to take their bow. A year later, Randy Orton's in the main event. I don't know how that is even possible. I love Randy Orton. He's a Hall of Famer in my book, but to see him come out and wrestle a match with Cody and all the nonsense with the McAfee and all that in Jelly Roll. I mean, to me, that's to have those two involved in a match with two really real wrestlers like Cody and Orton is just obscene.
I'll leave it at that. I'll let you make your point on that, and that's the way you feel about it. That's fine. As far as Orton working this year when he was on an undercard last year, I don't know. He is a kind of a Hall of Fame talent. He looks good. Better than I thought he was when he came back. I'll tell you what.
I would have rather just have him win the title, honestly. To have him win the match.
Here's the funny thing. It's like baseball with me. You and I talk baseball offline all the time. We
Sure.
talk about the Mets and Yankees.
Sure.
I watch baseball. It's fun when the team that I follow wins. It doesn't make me stay up at night crying when they lose. I don't.
Right.
Right now, the Mets have lost 11 in a row or something like that. I'm fascinated by it. I'm not bothered by it. I'm a weird sports fan that way. I root in to a degree, but if they don't win, it's still history. You're still looking at baseball history. You're still seeing the athletes. You're still seeing the home run, strikeouts, stolen bases, everything. Baseball is baseball. It's a beautiful thing to watch. I would watch Cleveland White Sox if I have the time to watch it. It's just a beautiful thing. It's the same way with wrestling now. I really am not that keyed up on guys who win or lose anymore or who has the title. I personally think Roman Reigns is going back to the well once too many times personally. I don't know how they're going to handle that, but to make a story short about Orton, it's okay. I think this should have been the end of his title push though, but I guarantee you it's not.
I have a friend that works for the Tampa Bay Rays. They had the Royal Rumble at the Tropicana Field there, I think about 2 years ago. She had never been to a wrestling show before, but I guess because she was working the building, she was there in some capacity. And she knew I was into wrestling and knew I had a podcast or was on a podcast. And so she saw me like the next day and she said, "Oh, that wrestling that you like, I really love their fans. I love how the fans are so engaged and so into it." And I do have to admit, and Bob and I are outdated. We're not in this equation, but the fans are chanting like it's a religious experience. The fans are chanting names. Not just like yay or boo. It's like, it's like you would sing these hymns at church really loud and just go on. And it just epic the way it is. And it just goes on and on forever. These guys have a hold on their audience. It turns Bob and I off, but the people that like it really like it. I don't know why they like it, but they do like it.
There you go. And just remember, they don't have much to compare it to. Wrestling organizations do not ballyhoo their past a whole lot. You don't see old matches on new shows. You don't see nostalgia a lot unless somebody comes back or somebody is a new manager or, somehow an old guy's involved with the new stuff going on now. Like, they'll
Right.
look back at Booker T because he's still an announcer, that type of thing.
Right.
Immediacy, they never look back. But I give the WWF, they did the same thing throughout there. They never tended to look back. They never looked back at the history. Like, if you had a wrestler who was once, say, the Intercontinental Champion, and in 2 years goes by, he doesn't have a belt, they'll never refer to him as a former Intercontinental Champion. They just
It's
refer to
true.
him by his name. For
That's
some
very
reason, they
true.
would always ignore history. I think that they think wrestling fans have short attention spans and therefore don't cater to that. I think
Yeah.
that's right on the money. I think that they've always felt that way.
I think that they're selling their fans short. You and I have talked about it. This was what made you spend $1,000 on a VCR in 1980.
How?
We always talk about the Bruno Zbyszko thing. What made that feud so remarkable wasn't that they drew so much heat they had to move it to Shea Stadium. No, that wasn't it. It was that Bruno set this feud up, and he masterminded it. He had these little trinkets of things in there, like when Larry came out to be interviewed by Bruno, and Larry just like blew him off and just walked away, almost like he couldn't hear Bruno call him over. And then they did something the following week, and then the third week, Larry comes out and spills his heart to Vince McMahon and talks openly about what his career plans are, and he's got to get out of Bruno's shadow. And it was almost like he was speaking from the heart. You believed, and there were other little trinkets, little things that they did along the way that built that feud up, and the details that really made that seem so believable and made it work. Nowadays, it's like, hey, we're going to drive a garbage truck up to the ring, and you're going to be like parked under the garbage truck, and we're going to knock it on top of you. There's no minutia, there's no details that make it so interesting or so engaging. It's just all like one car wreck after another, and to me, I lose interest.
I'm going to put a bow on this with this statement. I'm on Facebook talking to other veteran fans all the time.
Okay.
And I can't tell you the number of times I've read these words from somebody, just paraphrasing. That was really stupid. I can't watch this stuff anymore.
Right.
I think as the fans age and they watch more and more and more, everybody's going to have that "this is stupid" moment. Like, this is
Right.
ridiculous. This is crazy. I'm
Right.
not entertained. The sheer outlandishness of how dumb it is.
Mhm.
I think they better watch their butts. Because you can't get higher, more dangerous, worse spots, more dangerous, more injuries. You can't keep that going forever.
Right.
Find other ways to entertain. How about a wrestling match once in a while? And if they forgo the wrestling much more than they do now, I don't know what to say. Again, they're printing money. Everybody's doing fine. But I don't like to see great athletes get hurt. I'm too much of a pacifist. And when I see a real injury like Cody Rhodes, I shuddered. It was just awful. I thought that was terrible.
Well,
Again, we're probably just barking up a tree. It's fine. We're just venting, folks. I'm sure there are older listeners here who loved WrestleMania and every part of it and really were entertained by it. They're still out there buying tickets. They're not putting the kids through college, but they're taking their 2 kids to WrestleMania, if you know what I mean by that. So, folks, watch what you like. Enjoy wrestling when you can. Try watching some old stuff, and you'll probably see the difference. And Bruno Sammartino, we hardly knew you.
Enough said.
It's wearying, and again, watching all the noise and tumult at these events and the music and everything. It's wearying. Hey,
Yeah.
there's an article in the New York, Steve, that you'll find this interesting. An article in the New York Daily News on Sunday. Yankee fans are fed up with the noise at Yankee Stadium.
Right.
A 2-page article about I can't hear the guy next to me when he talks. There's noise between every pitch. The lights
Right.
flash. There's loud
Right.
music. There's DJs we don't want to hear. Live DJs in the middle of a baseball game.
Right.
It's too much. I'm starting not to enjoy it. The fans are saying, and they are right on the money. You can overdo it, and MLB is over. The city feels the same way.
Right.
And you know what it's like? They're copying wrestling.
They are. No, they are. They definitely are. And you and I are big baseball guys, and I watch MLB, the channel, all the time, and they reference wrestling from time to time too. I was at a Yankee Rays game there a couple of weeks ago, and you're right, the presentation is so different than, like I say, a major league game that you and I attended in the 70s. Just so different. It's almost like they realize, oh, people have their cell phones and we have to change things up. We have to do things differently because everybody's looking at their phone anyway. It's just it's just a different world we're living in. But the outdated wrestling hour is more validated now than ever because the outdated wrestling hour lives in the past, talks about wrestling's past, cherishes the past, and sadly, you and I visited WrestleMania 42 this weekend, hoping that we'd get a glimmer of wrestling's past and wrestling current day, and we were both quite disappointed.
Yep. I can't argue with the way you just said that. That's beautifully put. It wasn't all bad. I don't want to
No,
say that.
no.
I mean, the two matches that we pointed out were really, really good. I thought the Lesnar retirement was interesting and real feeling. And a nice moment when Bianca Belair came out and showed her baby bump.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice.
You know why we all loved it? Because it was real. It hits you harder when it's real and it's surrounded by a bunch of, outlandishly goofy stuff. So
I'll tell you one final thing that resonated with me yesterday. So they're having the ladies match. Rhea's wrestling her opponent there, the statuesque beauty. This opponent, Rhea, she's got like two girls outside helping her, like trying to interfere
right.
and get the victory. What that brought me back to, even before my first wrestling show, this is in the early 70s now. A neighbor of mine across the street, he says, would you like to go to the arena to see a Batman and Robin live stage show? And I said, sure, I'll go to that. So we go to our Broome County Arena, which is where I'd eventually see my wrestling matches, go to my hockey games and stuff. They did this live action Batman and Robin show. So basically you're there with all these kids and their parents, and they had a guy dressed up like Batman, a guy dressed up like Robin. They had two or three generic Batman villains there, and then they had like kind of a set. And basically, they did this little skits where the Batman and Robin would run around the stage trying to get the bad guys. And in seeing that match yesterday, I mean, it was just so corny. I mean, it looked like it could have been like an old silent film, from the 20s. Like, oh, here comes Ione Sky to save the day, and it's just so ridiculous and so childish. I I was greatly disappointed.
I'll leave you with this. They had an unsanctioned match during the 2 days, right? Called an unsanctioned match where
That's
anything
right.
goes. It
Yeah,
didn't look any different than any other match on the 2 days.
they're all the same.
They're all the same. Wild, anything goes.
Oh God,
What do you need commissioners for? What do you need referees for? Just, throw them out there.
I would have rather seen Nick Aldis against the other commissioner there. That would have been a better wrestling match, honestly.
I've been waiting for that one. They were both wrestlers.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. I'd like to see Nick Aldis. He was when the NWA was good, that one year when they were excellent,
Mhm.
Aldis was the NWA champion. He was good.
Yeah, and Camille was there. I liked Camille.
They're
She was good.
excellent act, and they had even Tim Storm at his age put on good matches with them, and I
Sure.
thought and now the NWA no, the NWA is moving to Comet TV. Go ahead, say it, Steve.
Comet TV. I don't even know what that is.
Thank you. We'll leave it at that. Honestly, I see, I didn't even have to coach you on that. I when I mentioned Comet TV, you're like, "Huh?"
What's that?
That shows you Billy Corgan's current NWA. Anyway, and this is why I'm so disappointed with everything that's new. Steve Gennarelli, tell us about what you're up to, where listeners can find you, both in social media and on your various podcast endeavors.
Well, thank you, Bob. It's always good being back on the Outdated Wrestling Hour after a lengthy absence. I'm on with John McAdam. Oftentimes on a Friday, the new episodes come out on Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam on the Arcadian Vanguard Network. And occasionally, once in a blue moon, I'm on the Pro Wrestling Time Tunnel with our mutual friend Tony Richards. And that's always a pleasure to be on his show. And always a pleasure to be with you, Bob. And I can't wait until the book comes out someday. And I want to read every detail, especially about your music career, because I don't know much about that.
Okay, I will say this too. As we move into the warm weather months, June, July, you guys know that I'm facing some surgery. I am saying that much in public. I'm not even going to talk about it on Facebook. I'm just saying it here. Steve has been kind enough to sit in with me on some shows with varying topics that are all really good. and they're in the can. They are finished shows now, but we're not going to talk anything new at all because we're looking at things. I'm probably looking at 3 weeks to a month of convalescence after the surgery I'm having, and I may not be able to speak. All right, really, seriously. So if that's the case, we have some really good shows in the can. And Steve, I want to thank you publicly for raising your hand and going, yeah, let's do some shows. And they're really good. We've got some great topics coming up. I'm really proud of these shows. They're going to be as good as anything we were up to. And you can thank Steve Gennarelli for that.
If you like historical shows about maybe a specific topic or kind of a potpourri of wrestling from the past, you will be entertained and you will enjoy listening to them. And Bob and I put a lot into them, and we really look forward to their release. And I couldn't let my friend Bob go into this very important surgery without having enough shows in the can. He didn't want to miss any weeks without any new episodes, and now we have new episodes to share with people.
Yeah, this is how important this show is to me personally. I don't want to miss a Friday. I do not want to miss a single episode. You guys deserve it. You guys have been listening to us since the beginning. You talk to me on Facebook all the time and on X and all these other things. I really appreciate your support, and I'm not going to let you down. And I don't want to do rerun shows. I'm hoping I don't have to do like a rerun some show or something. I hope that we can just keep at you with new material, even though the material you're hearing may be several weeks old from the time we recorded it, but we're looking back on historical things anyway. So, like all of our shows, they're timeless. Hey, ain't that right? I'm timeless too. You know, back then, way back then, they had a thing called vaudeville. Well, I better shut up. Steve, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks for the invite, and I promise the listeners we won't be so negative next time. That was just our WrestleMania feelings known to the world.
Speak for yourself, Charlie. I'm an exurbic going way back. I remember my art teacher when I was a junior in high school goes, "Aren't you a cynic?" And I was 15? I really haven't changed. I am cynical. I'm an outgoingly nice guy, I think, but I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. I'm cynical.
That's right.
You got to show me.
State.
And you know what? Somebody out there, show me some wrestling, please.
Anybody,
please. Attention, Gen Xers. If you'd like to explore the era that appeals to you, look no further than GenerationXWire.com. The generation who grew up with elite in entertainment, music, movies, TV, books, pro wrestling, and more finally has a one-stop destination for all their Gen X needs. From Aerosmith to Batman to the Killer Bees to the Twilight Zone, there's something for everybody at GenerationXWire.com. You won't find a more eclectic mix of pop culture content than at the leading website that specializes in the greatest generation, GenerationXWire.com. Check it out today. That's it for another edition of the Outdated Wrestling Hour podcast. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. Write to us, outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Our website, outdatedwrestlinghour.buzzsprout.com, where you can find all of our episodes at the press of a button. We will never Patreon you for those. Also on the website, you will find a box that says Outdated Wrestling Hour Fan Club, where for a nominal fee, you can help perpetuate the ongoing adventures of this podcast and our sister show, the Outdated Entertainment Hour, which comes out about once a month. All of it on outdatedwrestlinghour.buzzsprout.com. We're available on every podcast app you can think of. Please join us again. Both the Outdated Wrestling Hour and the Outdated Entertainment Hour are shows provided by Bob Smith's podcasts. The Outdated Wrestling Hour is part of the WrestleCopia podcast network. That's it for now. We hope you had a really good time tonight. And we're out every Friday with new editions of the Outdated Wrestling Hour podcast. So until next time, this is Bob Smith. You might remember me from my days with PWI. Thanks for being loyal fans. Thanks for listening every week. And we always say the same thing at the end of every show. In the words of Ringo Starr, peace and love, brothers and sisters. Peace and love.